Welcome back to the channel, everyone. This is Dash Rendar, and in today's video I'm going to be doing my own kind of version of a breakdown of what I perceive to be the most common error in a lot of the historical movies that feature archeries of that period, 13th, 14th century English warbows. Start a little bit about myself. I've been doing heavy archery for about 10 years, archery in total for about 15. I'm currently at 165 pound max at 32, working towards 175, 180 for the past probably 2 years, honestly. And the thing that I feel is the most prevalent is that their anchor points are super shallow. So I just did a long form video in which I went over shooting in traditional style. Pull a scene from Braveheart, for example. Now again, it's not noted to be the most historically accurate movie, but the archery in the film, when they draw, you'll see what they're doing is they're coming up and their anchor points are gonna be similar to where a modern shooter is. And so these arrows are usually 30 or 32 inches. So if I'm right here, depending on how long my arm is, my arrow is gonna be right there, and it's not gonna have the same amount of power because you really need to get the full draw to make that work. However, if I get in here and then I activate the back to pull it back and I actually get to the true anchor point, that's gonna be about 32, 33 inches, and that's gonna be significantly more power. Now again, this isn't gonna be like hunting shooting where you have it up in close so you're able to aim with the eyes, you can shut an eye. This is early form artillery. And so when you have a bow like this, which is 165 pounds, you're gonna need to use every part of your body, even if you've been raised on it, in order to functionally draw that back and get the proper shot down range. Possible 300-meter shots. So another scene I'm going to pull for is Agincourt and the King. So you can see their attire's fine, there's no problem with that. But again, what they're doing is they're coming up and they're here and they're just kind of ending it right in here, as opposed to actually coming back in and then getting it down low in here. So they're pulling that back and they have that full draw where they're able to get 32 inches and then release at that point. For example would be Game of Thrones. And again, this is just kind of like they're doing a pot shot where they're just kind of letting off. So in this scene, of course, they're just doing a send off, so they don't really need to do it for battle or for war. But again, it's just they pull up and then back to about here, and they're missing all that extra draw for power. So you really need to make sure that when you're using a heavy bow, especially for artillery or for range purposes, it's gotta be all the way back. So this is 135 at 28 and 165 at 32. So again, if I'm just pulling back here like this, I'm probably getting 135 pounds to draw, which is still substantial. But if you really wanna be an archer that's doing the maximum amount that they can, it's gotta go back the full way. The newest Robin Hood was also guilty of this as well. You can kind of see when they're drawing and they're shooting, they're just pulling it right back here, and they're not getting that big one. Even in the final shot when he's shooting the sheriff and he's really got to crank it all the way back, he's just coming to right here, as opposed to bringing it down the whole way so he can get that entire draw. So those are things that I think are missing. I feel like unless you train and shoot with a heavy bow for long range purposes, it's not gonna be something you think of normally. Shoot really heavy bows consistently, it's not something you're gonna have as your normal modus operandi. You can see that most of the consultations for these movies come from modern type archers. And if you look at people who practice it, like Joe Gibbs, you can see his draw, it's coming back the whole way. He's really got that thing bent to its full capacity because he's someone that was raised on that style. So he's like a really good representation of how that worked. No, this is not me hating on things because they're different than what I do or what I perceive them to be. As long as the movie's good, I enjoy it, except for the Robin Hood with Taron Egerton. That was just, whew, that was rough. Didn't make it through that one. But overall, there doesn't need to be a complete historical accuracy in every scene, right? If the story's good, if it's driven well, if the action's good and the actors are good, I still enjoy the movie and I'm not gonna nitpick things. But to me, this is just something I think is missing because that style of archery is so little practiced that most people who draw from it for consulting in these movies are doing it from a modern style shooting. So that's one thing I'd love to see in movies would be one, the bigger, stronger archer, and two would be that full draw where they're pulling back and really sending it downrange.